concept of tokens, this is basically it's a way of replacing card numbers from your environment with a reference or a pointer. It's extremely effective in reducing the PCI scope. We've counted approximately from the 240 or so controls, bringing it down to 25 when it's implemented in like a black box environment, which I'll talk about shortly. So as an example of a token, you might create a token from a credit card number. You might take the first 6 digits of the credit card number, which is the bank identification number. Basically, the first 6 digits tell you which bank physically issued the card and what scheme it comes from. You might then keep the last 4 digits. By the way, this is the maximum amount of credit card information you can keep before you become uncompliant. If you keep more credit card data, it's not enough to truncate out. Then in the middle, we replace those 6 digits with a random set of numbers, and combined, all of that can become your token. There's a number of implementation considerations with tokens, and it really does depend on your specific business environment as to how those different rules are implemented. I'll just run through a couple of examples. So whether or not to maintain the Mod 10 algorithm. Mod 10 algorithm is just the formula that all credit card numbers actually adhere to. In some cases, we've got clients that have chosen to make sure the token complies with the Mod 10 algorithm. This means that when the token is flowing through all of their business applications, it tricks those business applications into thinking it's actually a credit card number, and that it will allow them to pass through a various number of validations. Some of our clients have said, we don't want to have it adhere to the Mod 10 algorithm, we prefer that it doesn't. That way we know when we run a scan across all of these tokens, we know that there's actually no credit card numbers in there at all. Token generation business rules. Whether tokens are generated on the way in, if a card number comes in, should the same token be created as was originally created a week ago when that card number came in, or should a unique token be created each time? Again, it really depends if you're looking to match previous transactions that came through and treat it almost like a credit card number in itself. Tokens can be created by yourselves as a merchant, whereby you actually tell a provider, this is the token that we would like to use going forward. So it could relate to a customer number, that could be your token. It could relate to any number of references of your choice. And then from then on, that customer number or that token is used as a mechanism of using that card to transact with. Building in card identification. What I mean by this is, in the previous example that we saw with the token generation, we actually maintain the first 6 digits and the last 4 digits. Again, if your call centre staff or customer service operators are trying to assist your clients, then they can still identify, albeit it's kind of a useless token on its own, they can still identify with the end customer as to what their payment mechanism was that was used for a particular transaction. You can also search, obviously, on those components of the card number. So if the customer calls in, you say, what's the first 6 and last 4 digits of your card? That can then be searched upon without needing the full details of the card. You also need to consider ongoing token management, and we'll talk about that in a second. Some potential pitfalls with token implementations that you should consider before implementing. Ensure integration flexibility, and what I mean by that is, can the token be manually created, so on the fly by call centre staff or customer service operators? If you've got a whole raft or a whole database of credit card numbers currently, can you upload those, have them converted, and have a file drop back down to replace all of those? Automatically then from an ongoing process via an API, which is just it's like straight through processing from your ERP or web application, can you automatically create them on the fly? And same with real time via a website, can those be created dynamically? Ensure management and maintenance flexibility. So when the card number is replaced with a token, at some point we'll need to update the card expiry date. It might be something that the customer can do themselves, going in through a particular portal. It might be something that staff do if they're being requested to do so. Monitoring of credit cards that are going to expire. If you need to contact your clients to update their details, obviously a token on its own doesn't give you that information, but you need to ensure there's management and maintenance capabilities in the token system to support that type of business process. Equally, the tokens should support multi-channel processing if that's what you have in your environment. So obviously web, batch-based, recurring, internet or IVR-based processing over the phone. Okay, another really good tip is this black box approach, and it's something that we've specifically done at IP Payments as well. It's probably one of the smartest things that we did in terms of reducing the scope of our PCI compliance. What this means is you're effectively using network segmentation to reduce the scope. So you're consolidating all the credit card data into one environment. So if you've got remote offices that currently process data, is it possible to pull that all into one environment, which you then place the controls and access controls around to really manage that security centrally. Access is usually performed via an application layer which you control, so that could be, in our case we use a web server. So the only way, including all of our staff and employees, access information in the production environment is through a web-based interface. So there's no direct connection between, as an example, our office network and our actual production network. They're completely, totally separate environments, and that has really reduced the levels of compliance or scope of compliance on our organisation. It can be applied to internal infrastructure, so you can have take this black box approach with your own internal network, whereby you segment it, or it can be outsourced so that actual black box sits off-site and you outsource that.